All right, in today's video, we're going to discuss an ultra simplified guide on how to scale your e-commerce business on Meta in 2026. Now, I want you to keep in mind that it's ultra simplified, but that doesn't mean it's simple and it's easy. So I'm going to try to lay out all of the learnings that we have generated in the past 12 months after spending over $25 million on Meta and generating over $52 million while bringing in 2 billion impressions for the brands that we work with. So let's get into it. Here's an ultra simplified guide on how to succeed on Meta and create a successful D2C ad creative funnel. Now, most e-commerce businesses doing $2 million to $50 million in annual revenue, all of them hit the same creative wall because the primary customer avatar that they're going after is exhausted. Their CPA keeps climbing, and the ad formats that they used to scale with 6 months ago are not working anymore. They have an agency or an in-house team, potentially you as well, that keeps delivering more content, but volume is not solving the problem that they have. Because the real issue is not the amount of content that you're creating, but it's that you're fighting over the smallest and most expensive slice of the market, while 80% of your potential customers never see your ads. Keep in mind that these are observations, as I said previously, after seeing our clients deploy over $25 million. This screenshot doesn't show the full year of spend, generating over $50 million in sales and delivering 2 billion impressions in 2025. At that scale of spend and impressions, you just see patterns that brands spending 100K, 500K, or even $1 million a month, they simply cannot see. We see what works across many different industries, and we see what doesn't work and the differences between brands that are spending 50K a month and brands that are spending 2 million a month. And the first thing that you need to understand is why your current approach has a built-in ceiling. Because when you're overseeing $20 million in ad spend and close to 2 billion impressions, you just get a real-time view of how Meta's algorithm actually works. And all of the updates that they introduced recently, such as Andromeda, Gem, Lattice, that just don't need more content. They need creative diversity to function. And this is something that you can find on Meta's website as well, because they've recently written a very long article on what creative diversity actually is and how you can leverage it to scale your business. While our clients spend just over 20 million, I've seen at least 20 million more in ad accounts that I have personally audited last year, and 90% of businesses still get it wrong. It doesn't matter if it's e-commerce, if it's SaaS, if it's anything else, most of them just get it wrong. They think that creative diversity means 50 UGC content creators saying the same thing in a slightly different way. Different faces, different hooks, but the same angle and the same boring UGC format, which is not solving your problems. At the end of the day, these are just iterations. These are not net new concepts that are going to allow you to reach new people, but these are just iterations of the same thing. So hitting a revenue ceiling is just not a surprise because you have exhausted your primary customer avatar. Now, there is a ceiling on how many 35-year-old wellness-obsessed mothers you can reach profitably, but to scale further, you need to unlock different and new market segments. Meanwhile, Meta's algorithm is trying to serve the most relevant ad to the most relevant person. So you should take this into consideration when you create your content. But if all of your ads are targeting the same persona with the same angle in the same format, guess what's going to happen? The algorithm has just nowhere else to go. So it keeps serving the same people all over again until you see your costs increasing to the point that where you become unprofitable. But the brands that scale past $1 million a month are not just making more of the same content. They are systematically unlocking new audience segments by deploying true creative diversity, which means different personas, different angles, different formats, different ad creative styles, low production, high production, static ads, video content, etc., mapped to the different awareness stages. And this is key here because everything starts with understanding the larger market formula. And this is something that you are potentially already aware of. Now, at any given point in time, the market is divided into multiple different segments. 3% of them is buying now, 17% is generating information, 20% are problem aware, but they have not started educating themselves and they don't know about any solutions on the market. And of course, the biggest and the most profitable part of the market is the 60%, which are not problem aware. So they have absolutely no clue that they exist and they have no idea that they need your product. And this is called the larger market formula. Most e-commerce businesses are fighting for the 3% to maybe 20% of the market, which is the most expensive and most competitive slice of the market. Because if you really think about it, if you're selling supplements and you are leading with a discount, there are 5,000 more Shopify stores selling supplements that are leading with a discount. But if you really think about it, who's the person that's most likely to buy from a discount? It's probably somebody who already knows they have a problem. They have already researched the different options on the market. So now they're just looking for the best deal. And the thing with these people is they're just not the best customers because these are price sensitive customers. They have no brand loyalty. So if you manage to get them at a discounted price, the next time they're going to go to your competitor, which is going to offer them a bigger discount. So this is not really a strategy that you should be following if you want to scale your business. And Eugene Schwartz identified 5 stages of consumer awareness that map perfectly to the larger market formula. And this is something that ideally you're already aware of, but if we have to be honest, maybe 90% of the marketers have never heard of Eugene Schwartz and don't know the 5 stages of awareness. The market is divided into unaware, problem-aware, solution-aware, product-aware, and most aware. The unaware people are the 60% who don't know they have a problem. Then you have the problem-aware, the 20% who know that something is wrong, but they have not started looking for solutions. The solution-aware people are people who are already researching the market. They have already gathered information. They have already found out some of your competitors and are potentially looking to buy soon. And then, of course, you have the product-aware and the most aware audiences, which are the 3% of the market who know about you, they're ready to buy, they're just looking for the right time and for the right deal. Now, you have to understand that your opportunity is in stages 1, 2, and 3. If you master those stages, then you will be playing in a blue ocean because most of your competitors, they don't know how to advertise to unaware people. And this is what I'm going to show you today. So we've had a huge success last year implementing it for a client which we were able to scale from $100,000 a month in January to $1 million a month in November using the exact same approach. So I will use this case study to demonstrate our thought process. Now, wait, what happened? Why is it blue? Let me show you. So you see this graph, like you can think it's created with Gemini, with ChatGPT. I don't really care too much because it's real. So you see the purchase conversion value in the beginning of the year, January 2025, it was sitting between 0 and 200K, like close to the middle. So they were generating about $100,000 and $120,000 in sales. It dipped down to about 100 during March. And from that point on, you see what happens to the amount spent. It increased drastically, and to the revenue that also increased drastically. So at the end of the period, this is 30th of November, during November, we generated $958,000 in revenue just from Meta. Now the trend line, like everything is quite self-explanatory. You see pretty much everything that you need to see. The problem that they had before they started working with us is that they were targeting people shopping for mattresses because it's a mattress company, which were stages 4 and 5, because you only shop for mattress if you know that you need a mattress, right? So you are a product aware person, or at least a solution aware, which is 3 to 20% of the market. All of their ad creatives were static ads and video ads comparing their pricing options to the biggest competitors on the market, which meant that they were fighting for a price sensitive customer, which is not ideal. Now, what we did is we identified personas in stages 1, 2, and 3. And I will demonstrate this to you with examples in just a few seconds. So for us, the unaware customer was a health conscious individual who had no idea that their mattress contained toxic chemicals. Then you have the problem aware customer, which were people with back pain issues who hadn't really connected it to their mattress, but they were thinking that it was their lifestyle, the lack of exercise or too much exercise, etc., etc. So we had to educate them. And then, of course, we had a solution aware market, which were people already researching for affordable mattresses, but haven't even heard of our company. And by systematically creating content for all of the 5 stages of awareness instead of just 4 and 5, we unlocked 80% of the total market that was not going to purchase immediately. And this is where the biggest opportunity lies, because in the 80% of the market, this is where most of your competitors are not present in, because they don't know how to address those people. Now, the first thing is that obviously knowing who to target is only one part of the equation, but you also need a systematic way to create content that reaches each stage of the awareness. I call this UGC 2.0. That's what we call it in our agency. You can call it whatever you want. It's not really the point here, but our UGC 2.0 framework is based on creative diversity, and more specifically, 3 different layers of creative diversity. The first one starts at the persona diversity level. This is where you map out all of your customer avatars, and then you go one layer deeper, and then you try to uncover all of the sub avatars from each core group. Meaning that if you have a core avatar suffering from back pain, you then have a few sub-avatars with different back pain issues. You have work-related back pain, you have injury-related back pain, chronic conditions, and mattress-related back pain. So these are 4 different individuals basically that you need to address with your ad creatives. Otherwise, you're just not going to reach them because Meta is not going to serve your ads to those people. Then layer number 2, angle diversity. You have to test 10, 15, potentially even more different messaging angles per persona. You can test problem solution, you can test educational angle, you can test social proof, shocking factor, cost saving. Each angle is going to attract a different customer within the same persona. And then layer number 3 is the format diversity, which is where things get really interesting because you have different content formats such as video sales letters, you have podcast ads, you have UGC, you have street interviews, and each format is going to train the Meta algorithm differently. So it's going to unlock a new audience segment for you. Now, this is what it looked like for our client. We start with persona diversity, where we identified 4 different customer types. As you can see here, avatar number 1 was a side sleeper. Avatar number 2 was a back pain sufferer. Avatar number 3 were couples with different sleep preferences. And avatar number 4 was an eco-conscious consumer. Now, as you may assume, we don't advertise in the same way to all of them, because if you advertise in the same way to all of them, you're going to reach none of them. You have to be super specific when you pick your avatars and when you create content for each and every one of them. Each persona got its own content strategy. Angle diversity. If we just take the back pain persona, we didn't stop there. As I mentioned previously, we went 1 layer deeper. We analyzed close to 4,000 customer reviews, of course, using AI. So one hack that you can do here is export all of your a CSV file of all of your customer reviews from Shopify and from your review platform. You upload it to Claude, you upload it to Gemini, you upload it to ChatGPT, and then you start analyzing. On top of that, we analyzed every single Reddit thread that we could get our hands on, and all of the Facebook ad comments we saw, and we discovered that our back pain customer is actually broken down into 4 subgroups. As I mentioned previously, mattress attributed back pain, where we had one creative strategy or one content strategy, work-related back pain, different strategy, injury or accident-related back pain, different creative strategy, and chronic or medical condition, again, different creative strategy. Every one of those groups needed a different angle and different message in order for us to have a better chance at converting them. Now, format diversity. This is extremely important, so pay close attention. We deployed different formats for each awareness stage within that persona. As you can see here, we have the VSLs and the podcast style ads for unaware audiences, where we focused a lot on education. We started from very, very, very far away. We didn't start by talking about our product. We didn't start by talking about a problem, but we started addressing a symptom or potentially something that people would be interested in knowing, like a curious fact that they have not known in the past. And as you can see here, this ad in particular, 3,000 likes. This ad, the VSL ad creative, almost 4,000 people liked and engaged this thing. On top of this, you get a lot of comments. So people are actually asking about the problem that you're presenting or the solution that you're presenting. And of course, you have a lot of shares, because if you create educational content, people will share it with their network because they think that this is something important that their network needs to be aware of. Then we move on to UGC and VSLs for problem-aware audiences, which is basically more conversational content connecting the symptoms to the mattress. So one of the go-to ad creative styles is a customer interview, where we have a content creator calling a happy customer and then having a conversation. So we let the customer do the selling rather than us as a company doing the selling, because people are just less skeptic about this type of approach, and it just works wonders. And of course, we had static ads for the solution aware, the product aware, and the most aware audiences, which is basically social proof handling objections in real time, comparing ourselves to the current options, to the current option that they use, to the other options on the market. It's just like a full strategy focused on understanding your customer and selling your customer based on where they are at in your funnel and how close they are to buying from you. So the furthest customers will be in the unaware stage of awareness. Then you come closer with the problem aware, solution aware, etc., etc. Same persona, Same core angle, but multiple different formats, unlocking different segments at different awareness stages. And the result was beautiful because it was not one, not two, not three, but 12 different ad creatives generating more than $100,000 in revenue. And 2 of them, that you can see on the top, scaling past $200,000 in sales. So it was not luck. Like, we did it 12 times with ads that scaled past $100,000. So yeah, I don't know if you can call this luck, but it just felt like a smooth operation aligned with everything that the client told us about who their customer is, and it just worked. Now, of course, the next logical question for you is, okay, cool. This is one case study, it worked for one company, is it going to work for my industry? We've been working on developing and perfecting the system for 3 years now, and it has worked across multiple different categories. Of course, such case studies from 100K to $1 million don't come up that often, but we have a few notable mentions in the past 18 to 36 months. Now, mattresses. We scaled from 100 to 1 million in 11 months. We had a beauty accessory company, which is an 8-figure business. And our first ad that you can see right here, LJV, this is who we are, LJV Media. Our first ad became the top spender, the top performer in the ad account for the entire year, generating close to $500,000 in sales at the time of me taking the screenshot. And it's actually scaled past $500,000 a month in generated sales later on. And yeah, you can see the LGV label at the top. Then we had a supplement company that we helped 5x their spend. So as you can see here, the purchase conversion value, and then here the amount spent. They went from like 50K, I think that's a week, to over $100,000 a week in revenue. In spend. And the revenue, you can see here, it went from 200K a week to just above $600,000 a week. So it works. We had a digital publisher who we were able to scale from 0 to 2.5 million in 12 months. We had a pet food company that we scaled from 200 to 420K in 7 months. Then we had a lightsabers company that was back in 2023. I have to be open and honest about it, which is where we first started experimenting with the system and we first started building it out, which scaled to $600,000 a month in 6 months after them seeing a huge drop in sales. You can see they scaled down from 600 to 200. This is where we started working together, and this is where we ended up being. We, of course, had another weighted blankets company, which is quite popular in the e-commerce space, that cracked the TikTok algorithm and scaled to $500,000 a month, for which I don't have a screenshot. And we have a lot more smaller wins for brands scaling past 100, 200, 300, 500K a month in revenue that I have no data to back it up. Multiple different industries, multiple different products, multiple different price points, but the same framework and similar results. And the thing is that your industry, it's not special. It's just not special. But human psychology is, and understanding awareness stages works for mattresses and for lightsabers. Persona diversity works for pet food and for beauty products. And format diversity works across every single category that's currently advertising on Meta. So if you're sitting there thinking this won't work for my niche, well, you are in the exact same position that those clients that we work with were before they started working with us. So here's the recap. Most brands are targeting 3% to 20% of their audience while missing out on the 80%, which is the biggest and most profitable audience that you can target. The solution, larger market formula UGC 2.0 mapped to the different awareness stages. Now, of course, a pitch for our agency in case you want to work with us. Our creative packages start at 10K with a 3-month minimum commitment because you just cannot create strategy for a 30-day period. So if you're interested, click on the link here or just find us on the internet. Book a 30-minute strategy session with me. I'll make sure to add a link to this document in the comment section or like somewhere around this video so that you can check it out for yourself. And yeah, we'll analyze your current approach, we'll identify what's missing, and we'll show you exactly what would work for your brand. With that being said, I really appreciate you spend the time with me to understand basically how to scale on Meta in 2026, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.